Hello, today it's another day. I'm excited to be here today, very happy to speak with us today about powerful lessons from mistakes. And we are rethinking yourself, your goals, and your approach. So we are rethinking three things: yourself, your goals, and your approach. And today I'm pulling from page 46 of my book, Adapt and Advance. If you don't have the opportunity to get it, please go grab one copy. I promise you, there are a lot of things in this book that is going to help you get inspired to keep moving irrespective of the obstacles that life throws in your path. So in the book today, we are pulling from page 46, which is the title of that page is very important. Next steps from chapter 4. But today specifically, one of the things in the first half of the page, and I'm going to read from the book, said every mistake holds the potential to teach you something meaningful about yourself, about your approach, and about your goals. And that's what we are looking at today. So, and this page is encouraging us to take time to look at the mistakes we've made, to learn from them, and to learn something from them that will help us have meaningful that will help us, to rethink about ourselves, to rethink about our approach, to rethink about the goals that we have set. And to explain this point, I love stories. Like you all know, every time I come here, I have the story of somebody I want to share, just to help us see how somebody else has lived this life. And the person we are looking at today is Nelson Mandela, former president of South Africa. And I'm going to pull out his main story that we all know about, Nelson Mandela. In case you don't know, Nelson Mandela, the former president of South Africa, spent 27 years in prison. We all know a prison is a place where mistakes and missteps seems final for most people. So he stayed 27 years in the prison, but instead of bitterness, Nelson Mandela chose reconciliation. Instead of being bitter, he chose to reconcile after that. It transformed his suffering into wisdom, which is something that we can all take a step back, look at the mistakes you've made with your life, and see how you can transform your suffering into wisdom. He reframed his losses, and he was able to reorganize himself into leadership and service and forgiveness. The same people, that got him in prison, who are in charge of apartheid, he learned the skill and the art of negotiating with them, which eventually led him to becoming one of the best presidents I believe South Africa ever had. So the big story we are learning from Nelson Mandela today is the story that he decided very early to use different strategies. There was a trial he had in 1963, which from there he accepted that some of his early strategies led to a lot of loss of life, a lot of mistakes, and risk innocent lives. And he was able to rethink his strategies and reorganize himself to be able to use the strategies in a way that eventually became, the president for the country. The other thing about Nelson Mandela is that we saw how he utilized all he went through to rethink his approach for himself, which we are pulling from page 46 of my book. For yourself, after he was released from prison 27 years later, even during his prison term, Nelson Mandela rethought himself and he embraced immunity over hunger. It's okay to be hungry, but at times it doesn't serve us well. So you have to realize, and you can't be hungry forever also. And I remember there is a Bible verse that comes to my mind, which says, be angry, but do not sin, and do not let the sun go down on your anger. And I saw a joke recently on Facebook of a couple that said they don't want the sun to go down their anger, and they'll be angry for like days just looking at each other. But that's not what we're talking about today. So we are talking about he was angry, but at the same time, he had to learn to embrace humility at some point over anger. So and that's lesson number one for all of us today. What from the mistakes of the past, from the challenges you are currently going through, from the mistakes that perhaps you just made, how can you rethink yourself? What can you embrace? What information do you have about yourself that will help you, that will serve you better? The idea at the end of the day is whatever decision you're making should serve you, should serve your interest, should serve you going forward, to help you to adapt and advance, not keep you, stuck in the challenges or the mistakes of the past. So, just like Nelson Mandela, he embraced humility over anger. What is it that you, as a person, need to embrace today that will serve you and would serve the interest of that big purpose or that greatness that is right inside of you? Mandela rethought the way he saw himself, embracing humility over anger. Number two, he rethought the way he saw his goals. Now, Nelson Mandela aimed for national healing, not revenge. Goals. So, what goals do you have? How can you rethink your goal based on one or two errors you've made in the past? You can rethink your goal by embracing something that is healing, something that will help you instead of something that will not help you. And at times looking back, I remember one story I always like to share is Joyce Meyer's story. She said, looking back, she was abused by her biological father for years and years, sexually growing up as a child. But now she's about 80 or so. She said, looking back, she will not choose a different life because that traumatic childhood experience has helped her, to be able to reach out to millions all over the world, to be tender-hearted and to set up a ministry and ministries that is serving a lot of people. So the challenge, the mistakes you have gone through or the challenge you are going through or mistakes you've made, you could help you rethink your goals. He aimed for national healing, not revenge. That's for Nelson Mandela. For Joyce Meyer, she aimed to use her story to help people turn around and be better. Then number three is approach. So number one is the way you think about yourself. Number two, the way you think about your goals. Number three is the way you think about your approach. So Nelson Mandela changed his approach. It chose peace building instead of hostility. So there was a time he was using an approach that wasn't serving people well. Like I told us about the Rivonia trial in 1963, which was when he realized that he was risking a lot of innocent lives by his previous approach. So he changed his approach. Now his approach is peace building instead of hostility. And that's one of the reasons he was eventually, after leaving the prison 27 years later, he was able, to eventually become the president and, move the country forward in a significant way. What are we saying today is the essence and the call to action today is think about one big mistake you've made. Think about one big challenge you're going through and see what lessons you can learn from the mistakes, what lessons you can learn from the challenge that will help you to embrace humility over anger, to embrace yourself in a way that will serve you, to refine your goals in a way that will serve you better, and to refine your approach in a way that will serve you better. And personally, I could just give my own story. This is a story I've said a million times, and I'll keep saying it because I believe it's going to help somebody, just snap out of, being stuck in the problems. When my mother died at 7, my father died at 13. As a teenager, there were so many stories I had that made me bitter and sad. Stories of how, the roles different people played. And there were some things I saw with my eyes which were not storied, which ordinarily should make me angry and bitter against people that made life hard and unbearable for me after the loss of both parents, and people that played some roles in the loss of the life of my mother and life of my father in a negative way that made me really, really sad. But I had to let go. One thing I learned over the years is, for me, for myself, is to embrace humility over anger. To just like Nelson Mandela, I've decided to move on. I don't even care about all of those stories any longer. And goals is helping me to refine my goals. From them who did wrong, I've learned the kind of things not to do to people because I knew how much it impacted me when they did it to me. And that's why even in my role as a teacher, in my role as an attending physician, I make sure that I do whatever I do with a lot of mercy, because I knew when I did not receive mercy, I knew how much it affected me negatively. And the approach, of course, my approach to life is, keep pushing on, keep moving forward, and, don't let anybody define your future. So I told myself, people have done their worst. I will not let them define me. I'm not going to hold on to them, and there won't be a baggage that I have to carry on. I moved on with my life. So whatever it is that you're going through right now, you can rethink it, rethink yourself, how you see yourself, how you see your goals and your approach. Okay, and finally, we use the map plan principle like we always do every time I got to talk. M meaning making. For Nelson Mandela, I was able to transform suffering into a source of vision for others. He was able to make meaning out of it so that he had a vision that is beyond himself, even nationally. A, he had to take action. After I left prison, when he was in prison, after I left prison, he took action. He promoted reconciliation. He reached out specifically, even to the people that imprisoned him, and he negotiated with them. And P is planning. Part of it again for Nelson Mandela's story is he had secret negotiation even while he was still in prison with the apartheid government. And of course, all of this secret negotiation eventually led to him becoming the president of South Africa. L is learning. Story has it that he studied daily even in the prison and exercised daily. You've got to be alive and healthy, to get to the point where you want to get to in life and still be healthy when you get. That's one thing I tell myself every day. I make sure I do push-ups every other day. I do plank every other day. And I also make sure I have at least, on my average steps now is about 12,000 steps for almost 2 full years now. I do all of this so that, where I know where God is taking me still far. I'm just beginning. And I want to be healthy when I get there to fulfill my purpose 100%. I want to die empty. Just like I want to go to bed empty every night. I want to have fulfilled everything God has called me to do every day. Also, at the end of my life, at 90 or above, as God give me strength, I want to die empty. So you've got to live a healthy life. So I've read a lot, read one book every week, and I also exercise every single day, 12,000 steps every day. And I also make sure, on the average, and I also make sure that I also do other things, to keep me alive and healthy, reading books, exercising, resistance, push-ups, plank, everything. So whatever you need to do to keep things going, make sure you're doing it. Transformation, Nelson Mandela also used alliance formation. Instead of framing the Afrikaner leaders as evil or permanent enemies, he reached out to them and eventually became president, negotiated with them. M is mission statement. The closest I could find to the mission statement was one of his statements he made. He said, I have always cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which everybody lives together in harmony, without fear and able to fulfill their full potential, paraphrase. So that was something he said that he really looked forward to. So you need to have a mission statement that you look forward to all the time. Mine is to fulfill God's purpose and be the best version of myself. That phrase I always say it every time I do start a patient. Be the best version of yourself wherever you are. Don't let, whether you're in the pit or you're in the palace, whether you're in affluence, in wealth, or whether you're in poverty, whatever, whether you're homeless or you have a home, be the best version of yourself every single day. For me, it's free God's purpose, be the best version of myself, and to move on with my life from one level of success and value to get a level of success and value pattern and to contribute positively to the life of those that God has placed on my path. And finally, is prayers. And one Bible verse I will pull out today is James 1:4. He said, but let patience have his perfect work in you. So, paraphrase, there's a lot of work that patience can have in us. At times when we go through things, we just got to be patient. And I believe that's something that is really very important for us to do. So, and that's it for today, the map lamp summary. Thanks for watching. Please, let's make sure that we share the video with others. Leave a comment. Tell me how this has been a blessing to you. And I'd like to hear from you. If you are yet to get a copy of my book, please do go grab one now. At least you can do it with a cup of coffee for $2 and get the ebook. And also, if you have got a copy and you've not had the opportunity to leave a review for me on Amazon, please do so. Reviews help other people to find the book and to be the best that the book can be to everyone. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful time. Bye.